Assalamu alaikum ji, this is Kanwal Masroor with another episode of CxO podcast, Talk of the Town. Today we have an amazing guest all the way from USA. Let's welcome Eric Kisiel. He's the Chief Strategy Officer of S4 Digital. Let's just talk to him. Welcome, Eric. How are you?
Good, and yourself?
Thank you. Finally you are here.
Yes.
So how did you find Pakistan? Because you are here today and you're facing a great weather in Islamabad.
Yeah. I have been in Pakistan now for almost a month, and I must say I find it absolutely amazing. First off, I love the temperature. It seems like most folks talk about it being a little too hot.
Yeah.
But it's very comfortable for me.
Really?
Yes. And then next, I absolutely love the food as well. The local cuisine, the spice, the curry. I've always been a fan of Eastern dishes, and to have it here, locally prepared, fresh, has really touched my soul. And then finally, the people here have been so amazing and inviting and welcoming and hungry to grow. It's just, I wish I had been here sooner.
Oh, okay. Excellent. So, actually, that was my next question. That what sort of food you actually like in Pakistan, and you have answered it very well. But can you still specify what sort of food do you like being in Pakistan?
So unfortunately, I don't know the names of the dishes. Of food,
yeah.
I know.
But you like spicy food?
Very much.
Okay.
Very much, yes.
So you rightly said, because, the people in Pakistan are, looking towards opportunities and they have fire inside their belly. How did you find that, these people are looking for opportunities and, staying in Pakistan? How did you find these people?
Very inspiring is what I would say. So coming from the US, where everything is kind of expected to move quickly, and then thinking about here in Pakistan, there's an expectation that things move equally quickly. And one of the things that I've started to work on, even with our own staff, is to be a little bit more disciplined and a little bit more considerate of the time it takes to achieve something, and to be focused on fundamentals and incremental growth, as opposed to trying to win the lottery or be another Facebook, because it's been proven globally in many, many sectors that a methodical approach to success produces those results over time, and trying to take a pot shot or hit a moonshot. And I know this is a buzzword, but they're very rare. So I would say the fire in the belly, as you mentioned, is very inspiring. And I'm trying to work with folks to temper it and channel it and focus it to provide the maximum opportunity for successful results.
Okay, excellent. So, Eric, you have been into many countries. Recently, you were in Dubai as well. So, how did you find the culture of Pakistan, as compared to other countries as well? There are lots of other rumors about Pakistan as well. What sort of expectation you had before coming to Pakistan?
So, I'm a transient. I am a transient. As discussed, I've moved once every 14 months since 1999. So I've been moving constantly and being exposed to new cultures. Just last year, I got exposed to Western European cultures: Belgium, Portugal, Spain, Denmark, and now Dubai and Pakistan. So coming back and answering your question, I didn't necessarily have expectations because I've learned not to. And I've learned to really assess things on the ground through my own eyes and my own ears, as opposed to taking in what's coming in from the many various and rich media sources that are out there. So personal experience means a lot. So I walked in, and what I wasn't expecting was such welcoming people, as I've already mentioned, and such intense traffic. This is a new experience for me, watching folks go both ways on a one-way on a multitude of vehicles. Was very intriguing. But Pakistan reminds me a lot of where I grew up in Southeast Massachusetts, which was an area that used to have commercial success and then kind of went on hard times, but there was a resiliency and a strength in the population. And so being in Lahore And being here in Islamabad and seeing that same resiliency shine through, it's almost nostalgic. Yeah.
Okay. So Eric, tell us about yourself, your early career, and how did you end up working in S4 Digital Group, actually working in?
Sure. It's actually an interesting journey.
Yeah.
I fell into telecom again in June of 99, at a time when anybody who had a pulse, frankly, could work in telecom. Okay. A buddy called me and said, we're hiring. I showed up, bought my first tie, showed up for the interview, and the gentleman asked me, can you be a sponge? Can you suck up information? I said, I can try. And he said, show up Monday and we'll see what you got. And so I joined as a tier 2 technical support resource and worked myself out of a job in 3 months into a Unix administration position. So I was a sysadmin, and I learned software development and then platform and solution architecture. I transitioned from that company to another company and started to function as an enterprise architect, and went through my second digital transformation. So both of these companies, unfortunately, declared bankruptcy. And we had to go through massive transformation on the fly. And actually, both organizations experienced reductions in force of over 50%, over 60%. So finding ways to be creative, keep the lights on, move the business forward has really been something with me through my entire career. That takes us to about 2005, where the company was divested to other communication providers. And I went to another larger telecommunication company. They were bringing about $4 billion US per year across the top line from a revenue perspective. And again, focused on digital transformation, back office rebuild, system optimization, still functioning as a enterprise architect, but now leading resources. And that mission is in addition to being an individual contributor, and working with project teams as large as a couple thousand individuals and moving an organization that size. We were successful in that endeavor. And then I pivoted out of that into advanced R&D, where I helped build a IPTV distribution solution. So giving the company a transition from legacy video distribution to IPTV, back when that was actually a interesting bit of technology. After putting together the prototype and the business model and the go-to-market strategy, I moved into customer operations, where I was responsible for technology strategy for the desktops across all of the support center. Exited telecom at that point, and spent 4 years with a niche OSS solution. At that time, they were Sigma Systems. They've since been acquired by Hansen. And I was deployed as a strategic account manager. So I had technical lead on strategic accounts, focus on rescuing distressed projects and programs, and helping address some of the most significant challenges. Did that for 4 years, and that brings us to 2018. And then went to work for Wide Open West, another billion-dollar company, as the head of enterprise architecture. And at that point, we went through another significant digital transformation. And in the span of 3 years, we went from about 4 releases per year to 65 releases per year, with 30% less staff and an almost 100% success rate. Really just things outside of our control were blocking us. So, and then that brings me to S4. So I exited Wide Open West after having successfully completed the transformation. Took a bit of a hiatus and focused on mentoring and coaching. So I help technical resources transition into business roles, or business resources transition into technical roles, as well as provide some coaching for executive level resources. Have clients across North and South America and a bit of Europe. And I ran back into an old colleague of mine, Roger Kool and Amir Khan.
Such an amazing person.
Oh, you know Roger.
Yeah, I know him.
Outstanding. Yeah. So Roger, Amir, and I go back about 20 years. And I was at a point where I was available. And they told me about all the amazing things that S4 is doing and looking to do across 2/3 of the globe. And I was intrigued and I wanted to be part of it. And so here I am.
Excellent. So I must say your contribution towards S4 Digital will be, going to be a great journey, inshallah. So actually, what inspired you to pursue a career in strategic planning and, the business leadership?
It's a mixed bag. It's a little bit of falling up as I entered into the industry. Full disclosure, I have no university degree. I haven't even completed high school.
Seriously?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We'll leave the past in the past, but those are facts. And I'm on a mission to really understand what it is I'm capable of, and where my skill set starts to fail. There's an old axiom: people get promoted to their level of incompetence, and I'm trying to find where mine is. So it's a little bit personal transformation and personal diligence and self-growth. Strategy has come along naturally just as a result of the various efforts that I've been in. And frankly, having a chance to work with some amazing people and beat the odds. If you look at the failure rate of digital transformations right now, they're north of 80% on a global basis, and some have even worse percentages. And I have the honor of having lived through half a dozen successful ones. And so this process of planning out what needs to happen and being considerate of the resources and the timing necessary to achieve those objectives, and then sharing those with others so that they don't go through the heartache, the pain, the capital expenditure with no return, is a bit of a personal mission. I've been mentored along the way, and it's a part of giving back to the larger community, both entrepreneurial as well as corporate.
Excellent. So, Eric, I would like to know about, since you have mentioned that you haven't been to school or college, but you went to school, or
no?
Okay, so I would like to know that how did you transform yourself? What actually given you a knowledge to what is actually happening around you? It's very difficult to cope up with the situation, especially when the COVID came. How did you convince the organizations, because you don't have a degree, and then you still know you're the best, probably. How can you convince an organization that I can add that such value, being working in your organization? So how did you transform yourself? It's actually inspiring.
Thank you so much. It's frightening some days.
Okay.
It's frightening some days to be the one that people look to in the room for the answers. Yeah, because I'm used to being in the crowd. But it's a lot of adaptability. It's a lot of resiliency, and I would say an almost maniacal obsession around curiosity and understanding the why. And I don't necessarily feel like I'm a smart individual. Every time I pick up a nugget, I realize there's 2, 3, 4, 10 more nuggets that I now realize I don't know. And so there are many days where I don't feel smart. I feel about as sharp as a box of rocks. And there are days where I wish I had gone to school. But in terms of convincing people, much like we see across the global digital economy and the ecosystem, people tend to be moved by sound, facts, and figures, and past performance and past experiences. And because of what I've lived through, and being able to share those very candidly and intimately, and talk about the pros and cons of a given path objectively, it builds trust. And once there's trust, there's a chance to move forward together. As I think we've talked about a few times now, I'm a bit of an introvert, and communication is a learned skill for me, much like this conversation. I frankly would not have been able to do this 20 years in my past. So producing movement is understanding where the organization is at and what they're really looking for, and finding a way to show them that there's a possible path to that. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. Thank you, Eric. So, as you mentioned about the digital transformation, I would like to know more about what actually is the digital transformation, because most of the companies, especially the small medium companies, when they adapt the ERP solutions and, such softwares for their, the KPIs they are doing on a regular basis, they think that, we have done the digital transformation, especially when the COVID came. People have, went through from physical meetings to the Zoom meetings and the online meetings. So everybody thought that, this is the digital transformation. So what is actually a digital transformation for you?
Unlike arithmetic equations, I don't believe that there's one pat answer for what a digital transformation is. Also, unlike some of the experiences that we glorify globally, I don't think digital transformation is a binary or a Boolean event. I think it's an evolutionary event, akin to maintaining good personal hygiene, or good physique, or good diet. It's something we do over time. A very wise individual I was talking to recently said that, you're digital when there isn't a person involved in something that should be automated. Okay. So kind of the most concrete answer is, as long as there aren't people in between getting information from point A to point B, you've achieved a digital transformation. But that's scary for a lot of the workforce, because if they're not the ones moving the piece of paper or connecting the dots or answering the question, there's some concerns around what they're going to do with their time and how they're going to add value to the business. But, back to the question you asked, digital transformation is just removing people from processes where they don't need to be, much akin to where we started in terms of automobile manufacturing, where people would pick up raw materials, they would process them, they would assemble them, out the far end would come a Model T, something along those lines. Whereas today we have a fully mechanized construction process for Teslas or any other brand out there. That's an example of a digital transformation that we can very clearly see and we understand the benefits of, because of the improvement in consistency, the improvement in quality, the improvement in predictability.
And the innovation as well.
That's right. Yeah. And the opportunity to do something else on top of what we used to have a human doing themselves. Yeah.
So, yes. So, how has your experience been working with the people in Pakistan, you being representing this for digital?
Yeah, it's been good. What I would say is the last couple of years, and I'm just becoming educated to the macro and microeconomic conditions in Pakistan, the last couple of years have been challenging. But people are optimistic, they're hungry, they're inquisitive, they're willing to ask questions and take guidance, which has been great.
In terms of commitments, delivering things on time?
Yes, so I've just really arrived, and I like to take anywhere from a quarter to two to assess things totally. Much like elsewhere in the world right now, there are a lot of headwinds, and it's difficult for various leaders to say yes, and even more so to say yes quickly. It's not like it was in the early 2000s where a handshake could produce a deal in a week. I just don't think we're there anymore. But overall, I think the conditions and working with the folks has been great.
Okay. So are there specific tech skills or areas of expertise that are in the higher demand globally? Pakistan is actually been declared as the fourth largest freelancing country in the world, and we are still figuring out what sort of technology we are going into, what technology is going to be in demand in few years. It's very difficult to forecast for any technology because the movement is very fast. But still, what sort of areas do you think that people will have these kind of expertise and these skills so that they can not only survive but can grow themselves? Sure.
I would really encourage folks who are just embarking on their journey to take advantage of the current state of the market. One of the most interesting metrics I carry around with me is I learned that there are more programming languages in existence than there are spoken languages in existence, right? We found more ways to talk to computers than each other, which is all sorts of fascinating conversation there. But coming back to why is that relevant here about tech skills? I would encourage folks to not try and build software the way we've been building it for the last 60 years. The days of having to handwrite C or C# or Java. I'm an old Perl guy. I love the magic, yeah. But leveraging things like low-code, no-code platforms, where you're really focused on building the solution as opposed to building the plumbing, we believe in very strongly, and I do as well. It's as powerful for developers as the first IDE was for traditional development as well. It's a whole step function forward, and folks not embracing that are likely setting themselves up to be behind. Deep analytical skills are always going to be in demand. I think understanding how to mine data and tell a rational story from a commercial, from a financial, from a business, even from an empathetic perspective, these are going to be core skills that are going to transcend industry and time. And I don't see them being replaced. And then understanding the fundamentals of this whole Gen AI thing and being able to speak to what AI actually is or isn't, ML actually is, machine learning is and isn't, but being able to leverage these tools as the new base for growth, low code, no code, deep analytical skills, and leveraging generative AI, I think were the areas that I would say someone should focus on right now. Not all at once, because that's their careers in each, but those are the areas that I would recommend.
Excellent. Eric, I think I would like to add my opinion as well.
Please.
Because, so as we see that, AI is evolving, and there are, as you have mentioned, there is the no code software. The software name is Mendix?
So there are any number of platforms. Okay. S4 partners with Mendix, which is a Siemens subsidiary. So that's a platform. There are any number of options, but we chose Mendix because it's the Gartner Quadrant leader, and it's supported by the Siemens organization, 125 years experience. Wow. They used it to revamp their own enterprise, and they liked the technology so much, they went through an acquisition. I mean, what better marketing can you provide? You know?
So I guess building the mindset is more important than learning the skills. What I actually assume is, because the future of AI, I think the code will not be required anymore. Still, there is lots of software and applications that's been built by the AI generated codes and algorithms. But how do you see this? Because it's for the Gen Z, is it having a digital transformed mindset, considering what AI it is, and what sort of opportunities we are looking in the future as well?
It's an interesting question, and I'd like time to reflect on it and come back to you. Yeah.
So for me, I think I'm more like an advocate of understanding the technology, what we can do, what sort of things we can adapt, and then adapting that mindset that what sort of changes we can bring using this AI and the emerging technologies. So this was my actually
sure.
So you can
add
something to you as well.
It's a great space. So let's talk about tools. And talking about low code and Gen AI, I look at evolution as evolution of tools, no different than going from a steam powered engine to a combustible engine, and in the iterations of those up to a hybrid and now an EV where we achieve the same goals, but in a sustainable way, right? So there's this evolution, and tied to that, the tools we use to build or move things become less relevant over time. When they first show up, they're mind-boggling, they're intriguing, they're disruptive, but over time they become commonplace. So talking about low code and Gen AI specifically, I believe because they're so new, they're disruptive, they're tough to wrap our mind around, but they're going to become commonplace for the folks who really look at it the right way, and leveraging them as a base to go do innovation on top of is, I think, where we should be focused. Let me give another kind of practical example. In the days of MySpace and Prodigy and CompuServe, when the web was kind of nascent, in order for folks to have a website, they had to know how to write HTML. And right, they had to know HTML, and heaven forbid they had to learn style sheets, and they had to learn animation, they had to learn CGI and all these different technologies. But today, you can go to a website editor, click a couple of buttons, and you have a website, and you right click and you change the color scheme. So the tool around achieving the results has become commoditized. It's the results that matter. And I feel like the same is going to be true around low code, no code, and Gen AI. I think we're enamored right now.
Yeah. So I know we have a time constraint, and you have to go back to the flight. You have a flight to catch. For S4 Digital, what strategy do you have to expand and the planning you have for next couple of years, or maybe 5 years or 10 years?
Sure. Bringing it back a little closer to home. So we're a GSI. We provide system integration, application development, and enterprise optimization services. We're down market from the larger SIs. We're small. We're hungry. But we're trying to do things like you've heard us talk about already through the course of this conversation. We're trying to find ways to deploy the right tools that produce demonstrable business value without needing an army of bodies, which is potentially a little disruptive to the whole SI landscape. But in the more immediate term, to answer your question specifically, what we're focused on is demonstrating that there's a different way to do business, that there's a way to do business leveraging technology that has capital efficiency, that produces operational gains, that lets humans focus on providing value to the business, and is less risky than the approaches we've been taking over the last 5 to 10 years. So we operate in Brazil, Portugal, UAE, Pakistan, and we're establishing bases elsewhere. And in those markets, we're really trying to focus on helping those businesses achieve these sorts of results, especially as significant as the current economic headwinds are, where there's a lot of concern around spending. There's a lot of focus on OpEx efficiency. There's a lot of reduction in force right now because maybe they're a little too heavy. So I know I didn't answer the question you posed.
Yeah, it is actually. So Eric, any message you would like to give to the audience?
Would love to have conversations about where they're at and how maybe we can help their journey. But aside from that, no, I don't think that I have anything else that I would like to add. Aside from maybe, let me think about this. We're very proud. S4 is very proud to be a local Pakistani business operator. So we operate Brammers and Fishery, which are based in Lahore and have been around for over a decade. We also operate HR Ways and Remeyer, which are staffing solutions and an associated technology platform based in Karachi. And then we're trying to grow business here in Islamabad. So I guess I would add that to say I'm very happy to be part of the Pakistan economy.
Welcome, sir. So thank you, Eric. Thank you for your time. I think for the next time, we'll have another interesting conversation as well. Thank you for your time, Eric.
Thank you so much.
So keep watching the CxO podcast, Talk of the Town. Subscribe karen, like karen, share karen. Thank you so much.